The first night my stepmom made me sleep in the garage, I thought it was punishment. She smiled as she handed me an old blanket. "You're almost 16," she said. "The garage is more than good enough for you." Dad was away on another business trip. He never knew. For the next 6 years, while her children slept upstairs in warm bedrooms, I slept beside rusty tools, a broken lawnmower, and a leaking garage door. Then, one rainy afternoon, 15 years later, she knocked on the front door of the home I'd built from nothing. She looked older, tired, scared, and the first words out of her mouth were, "Please, save our house." My name is Emma Reynolds. When people hear my story, they usually think the garage is the saddest part. It wasn't. The saddest part was that my father never knew, or at least that's what I believed for years. When I was 12, my mother passed away after a long battle with cancer. The house became painfully quiet. Dad buried himself in work. He owned a small construction company that required him to travel across the state almost every week. I spent most evenings alone. 6 months later, he met Karen. She seemed kind, patient. She brought homemade cookies. She laughed at Dad's terrible jokes. Most importantly, she made him smile again. After everything we'd been through, that felt like a miracle. 1 year later, they got married. Karen moved into our home with her 2 children, Tyler, who was 14, and Ashley, who had just turned 11. At first, everything seemed normal. Karen hugged me every morning. She called me sweetheart. She told everyone how excited she was to have another daughter. Looking back, I realized something. She was only kind when Dad was watching. The first crack appeared 3 weeks after the wedding. Dad left for another 10-day business trip. The moment his car disappeared around the corner, Karen's smile disappeared too. "Emma." "Yes?" "From now on, your chores are changing." I expected dishes, laundry, vacuuming. Instead, she handed me a list. Clean every bathroom, cook dinner, wash everyone's clothes, mow the lawn, organize the garage. Meanwhile, Tyler played video games, Ashley watched television. I asked quietly, "What are they supposed to do?" Karen looked at me without blinking. "They're guests." I frowned. "They live here." She smiled. "So do you, but someone has to earn their place." For almost a year, I did everything she asked. I cleaned, cooked, studied, stayed quiet. I thought if I worked hard enough, she would eventually love me. Instead, things got worse. One Saturday morning, Karen walked into my bedroom carrying empty moving boxes. "Pack your things." I laughed. "Why?" "Tyler needs a bigger room." I looked around. "This is my room." "Not anymore." I waited for her to smile. She didn't. "Where am I sleeping?" She pointed toward the garage. I honestly thought she was joking until she opened the side door. There, in the corner, sat an old camping cot, a dusty pillow, one thin blanket. The concrete floors still smelled like gasoline. My heart dropped. "You can't be serious." "I am." "But it's freezing out here." She crossed her arms. "You'll survive." That night, I cried myself to sleep listening to rain hit the metal garage door. Every gust of wind rattled the loose panels. The old water heater made strange noises all night. I kept telling myself Dad would be home in 4 days. He had to fix it. He had to. When Dad came home, Karen greeted him with a hug. Tyler showed him his new bedroom. Ashley talked about school. Eventually, Dad found me carrying laundry through the garage. He looked confused. "What are you doing out here?" Before I could answer, Karen spoke first. "Emma wanted more privacy." Dad smiled. "Oh, if that's what you wanted." He kissed my forehead. "I'm glad we could make it work." I opened my mouth, then looked at Karen. She smiled, but only with her lips. Her eyes said something else. "Go ahead. See what happens." I said nothing. Dad drove away again 2 days later. People think sleeping in a garage is just uncomfortable. They don't understand. Summers felt like an oven. Winters felt like sleeping inside a freezer. There was no insulation, no heating, no air conditioning. When storms came, rainwater pooled beneath my cot. Sometimes mice wandered inside. I learned to ignore them because complaining changed nothing. I studied beneath a single hanging light bulb. I graduated high school from that garage. I completed scholarship applications from that garage. Every acceptance letter, every rejection letter, every dream I ever had started on that little folding desk beside the lawnmower. The night before graduation, Karen walked into the garage carrying a garbage bag. "What's this?" "Your decorations." Inside were the balloons I'd bought with money from my part-time grocery store job. "The graduation party?" She shrugged. "We canceled it." "Why?" "Tyler needs a new dirt bike." I stared at her. "You used my savings?" "You'll understand." That sentence became her favorite. "You'll understand." No, I wouldn't. The day after graduation, I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases. Dad hugged me. "I'm proud of you." "I'll miss you." "I'll visit." I smiled. "I know." Karen stood in the doorway, silent, watching. As Dad carried my bags to the car, she leaned close enough for only me to hear. "Don't come back." I looked at her. "What?" "You've always been a reminder that this wasn't my family first." For a moment, everything finally made sense. It had never been about the room, or the chores, or the garage. She wanted to erase every reminder that another woman had once lived in this house, and I was the biggest reminder of all. College wasn't easy. I worked mornings at a bakery, evenings at a bookstore, weekends tutoring high school students. Eventually, I earned a degree in finance, then another certification in mortgage restructuring and real estate management. Most people never dream of becoming experts in saving homes from foreclosure. I did, maybe because I knew exactly what losing a home felt like. Life was peaceful until one rainy Tuesday afternoon. My receptionist knocked softly. "Emma?" "Yes?" "There's someone asking for you." "Do they have an appointment?" "No. They said it's a family emergency." I walked toward the reception area. The moment I rounded the corner, time seemed to stop. Standing there, holding a worn leather purse, was Karen. I barely recognized her. Her expensive clothes were gone. Her hair had turned gray. The confidence she'd carried for years had disappeared. When she saw me, her eyes immediately filled with tears. For several long seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "Emma, I need your help." I folded my arms. "What happened?" She looked down at the floor. "The bank is taking the house." The words hit me harder than I expected. The house, the same house, the one where I spent 6 winters sleeping in a garage. She continued, "Your father's gone. He passed away last year." No one had told me. My heart sank. Then she reached into her purse and placed a thick foreclosure notice on my desk. I've been everywhere. Every bank, every lawyer, they all told me the same thing. She looked directly into my eyes. They said, "If anyone can save this house, it's you." I stared at the paperwork, then slowly looked back at Karen. The woman who once told me, "Don't come back," was now standing in my office begging me to save the only home she'd ever wanted. I opened the foreclosure file. One glance at the loan documents, and something immediately felt wrong. Very wrong. The signatures, the refinancing dates, none of it made sense. I closed the folder quietly, looked Karen straight in the eyes, and asked one question. "Karen, what aren't you telling me?" Her face lost all color because she knew the foreclosure wasn't the real problem. It was only the beginning. There are moments in life when the past knocks on your door. Not to apologize, not to explain, but because it finally needs something from you. Karen sat across from me in complete silence. The foreclosure notice rested between us. For years, I'd imagined what I'd say if I ever saw her again. I'd imagined anger, bitterness, even revenge. Instead, I found myself asking one simple question. What really happened? She looked down, then quietly said, "I haven't told you everything." Karen slowly pushed another folder toward me. I didn't want anyone to know. Inside were loan agreements, credit card statements, mortgage refinances, home equity loans, one after another. Millions of dollars in debt. I frowned. "This isn't your handwriting." She nodded. "I know." "Then whose is it?" She closed her eyes. "Tyler's." For a moment, I thought I'd misunderstood. "My stepbrother?" She nodded again. "He convinced your father to refinance the house. He said he wanted to expand his construction business. He promised he'd pay every dollar back. But instead," she swallowed hard, "he kept borrowing. Again, and again, and again." The house I'd grown up in had become collateral for every one of Tyler's failed business ventures. I continued reading. Something caught my attention immediately. One refinance occurred 3 months after Dad supposedly signed retirement papers, except the signature didn't match, not even close. I looked at Karen. "Did Dad actually sign this?" Her face turned pale. "No." "Then who did?" She whispered, "Tyler." The room went silent. For years, I'd blamed my father for never seeing me, for never asking questions, for never noticing I slept in the garage. Karen looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "There was something I never told you." I folded my arms. "What?" "The first year, your father found out." My heart stopped. "What?" "He came home early from one of his trips. He found your bed in the garage." I couldn't breathe. "What did he do?" Karen stared at the floor. "He screamed at me. He told me to move you back inside immediately." I felt hope for the first time. Then she continued, "But Tyler had already taken your room, so I told your father that you asked for the garage because you wanted your own space to study." I remembered that conversation. Dad had smiled. He'd believed her. Karen nodded. "I lied, and he believed me. Every single time. Every birthday. Every Christmas. Every business trip. Every excuse. She always had another lie ready. I spent 15 years hating my father without knowing he had been manipulated too." Karen reached into her purse again. "This belonged to him." She handed me a sealed envelope. On the front, in my father's handwriting, were 3 words, "For Emma." My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter. "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, it means I waited too long to tell you how sorry I am. I believed things I never should have believed. I trusted people when I should have trusted my daughter. By the time I realized the truth, I was already sick. I wanted to fix everything. I just ran out of time. Please don't spend your life carrying anger because of my mistakes. Love, Dad." I couldn't stop crying. Not because the letter erased the pain. It didn't. But because, for the first time in 15 years, I finally knew. He had loved me. I agreed to review the foreclosure. Not for Karen, for my father. The deeper I investigated, the worse things became. Tyler hadn't simply made bad investments. He'd lied to everyone. He forged signatures. He borrowed against the house without permission. He convinced Karen to co-sign documents she never understood. He stopped making payments months before disappearing. The bank wasn't being cruel. Legally, they had every right to foreclose. Unless one crucial document changed everything. While searching county property records, I froze. The deed looked different from the copies Karen brought me. There was an amendment, dated almost 20 years earlier. I requested the original file. When it arrived, I couldn't believe what I was reading. After my mother died, Dad quietly transferred a 1/3 ownership interest in the house to me. He never told anyone, not even Karen. Without my signature, several later refinancing agreements might not be fully enforceable. For the first time, the bank's case wasn't as simple as it seemed. 3 weeks later, we found Tyler. He wasn't hiding in another country, he was living in a small apartment across town. When he opened the door, he looked shocked. "Emma?" I didn't waste time. "You forged my dad's signature." He looked away. "You almost cost everyone their home." He finally admitted it. "I thought one more loan would fix everything, but every failed investment led to another loan, another promise, another lie." Karen broke down crying. "I trusted you." Tyler whispered, "I know. I ruined everything." The bank agreed to mediation. I represented Karen. The bank brought 3 attorneys. For 6 hours we negotiated, presented evidence, compared signatures, reviewed ownership records. Finally, the lead attorney spoke. "If Miss Reynolds signs a restructuring agreement, we're willing to suspend foreclosure." Karen looked at me. She couldn't speak. I picked up the pen, then stopped. Not because I wanted revenge, because some things had to be changed first. I looked at Tyler. "No more lies." He nodded. "I'll sell everything I own. I'll repay what I can." I looked at Karen. "No more secrets." She whispered, "I promise." Only then did I sign. The foreclosure stopped. The house was saved. 1 year later, Karen sold the oversized home, not because she had to, because she realized it had become a monument to mistakes. She bought a modest little house nearby. Tyler found steady work, not as a business owner, as an apprentice electrician. For the first time in his life, he earned every paycheck honestly. He never complained. One autumn afternoon, I drove past my childhood house. A young family was moving in. Children ran across the front yard laughing. The garage door stood open, completely empty. No cot, no folding desk, no old blanket, just sunlight. I smiled. For years, that garage represented rejection, loneliness, pain. Now, it was simply part of someone else's beginning. Karen quietly walked over. I'll never forgive myself. I looked at her. "You don't have to." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "Some mistakes can't be undone." She lowered her head. "But people can still choose who they become afterwards." She nodded through tears. "I'm trying." "I know." Before leaving, I walked into the empty garage one last time. I ran my hand across the old concrete wall, closed my eyes, and whispered goodbye. Not to the house, not to the garage, but to the little girl who spent years believing she wasn't worthy of a bedroom or a family. As I stepped back into the sunlight, I realized something. The strongest homes aren't built from bricks. They're built from the people who make you feel safe inside them. And after all those years, I had finally found mine.